Hi! Today we're going to be talking about my summer sewing plans. Again, I am probably overestimating the amount of time that I will have to actually sew, but a girl can dream. I mostly have a lot of blouses planned, so we will talk about those first. So the first blouse we're going to talk about, it is called the Coraline blouse by Pattern Cause. I got the pattern on Etsy. I talked about this in my spring plan sewing video, so you can see I did not get to it. It has a really nice, almost pin tucks along the collar with a little ruffle, and then it's pretty fitted down the body, and it has puffy sleeves and a Peter Pan collar. I think it has a really nice shape, and my goal with this is to make it to wear under my knitted sweaters. I have a few options for material. I think that I can't use this rayon fabric that I just got at the thrift store because it doesn't have quite enough structure. So I was thinking that I was going to use this white shirting material that I have, and I think that this will be perfect. My plan, because I have a unique body shape with my waist being 2 sizes bigger than my hips, I am not sure if I can make this pattern with the darts so that it also fits my bust. So my plan was to make this pattern without the darts and just have it kind of loose around my body, and then I can tuck it into pants or something and it'll kind of like puff out like a balloon. So I think that this fabric will be nice for that. It has a bit of structure, but because it's so thin, it still has some drape. Next up, this is a tried and true pattern. I have made this 4 or 5 times, and it is the Vetifer top by French Navy Patterns. I love this blouse. It goes down to just below your natural waist. There is a ruffle that goes along the hem, and then there's princess seams along the front and the back, and just a straight sleeve. And then I got the extension that has the Peter Pan collar edition and long sleeves. I want to make this with short sleeves out of this material, which is actually a pair of pants that I got at the thrift store that are too short for me. They're a pair of large Old Navy pants, but they are made of like the softest, silkiest rayon, and I think that this would make a very lovely top. And I feel like the Vetiver top, because it has so many different seams, like there's 2 front pieces, and then 4 side pieces, 2 side front and 2 side back, and then 1 back piece, and they're all relatively small. So I think that this pattern lends itself very well to upcycling, and I can upcycle these trousers into a lovely blouse with lovely drape. This is so soft and silky. That is another plan I have. Speaking of French Navy patterns, I also have the Belinda button-up, which is basically a basic button-up. You can do a ruffle around the collar as well. And I think there's an option for a regular collar and then also a Peter Pan collar. I've not made this pattern before. I got it on sale in the spring or maybe even the winter. I want a classic button-up. I really want a white one and perhaps a color. I did just get this material at the thrift store. You will have seen in my recent Everything I've Thrifted in the Last Few Months video. This is a sturdier fabric that still has very nice drape, and I feel like this would make a lovely button-up, and I think green really suits me because my eyes are green. The green fabric brings out my eyes. So this is the tentative plan for the Belinda button-up. I also really like that white fabric that I already showed you for the Coraline top. If I have enough of that left over, I'd like to make a button-up out of that as well. Another nice thing about the Belinda button-up is you can add a cute little ruffle to the cuff as well. This is a free pattern. It is called the Elliot top. It is a pattern by Cool Stitches, and I think for that one I am going to use this rayon material. It is not as silky as those trousers, but I'm pretty sure that this is rayon, just the way that it feels and the drape of it. This has a very subtle shine to it. I don't know if you can see that, which I feel would make anything that I make out of it very ethereal. You can see kind of here with where it's frayed that the threads going one way are shiny, whereas the ones going the opposite way are just white. So that's where that shine comes from. Now we are on to, again, a pattern and a fabric that I talked about in my spring sewing plans, but I'm going to talk about it again because I have not yet made it. I have this fabric that I got at the thrift store a number of months ago. Sorry, someone's going by on like a motorcycle or something. It's loud. I got this fabric at the thrift store a couple of months ago. It is relatively sturdy, but it still has a nice drape, so it's a very soft material. I have this pattern that I got at the thrift store also a few months ago, and you can see this view right here is made out of a fabric that is very similar to this. So I want to merge these together. I've been calling this my 80s blouse, but when I was looking for it online, this is literally 90s blouses. Perhaps I don't remember because I was born in the 90s and I wasn't into style then, but I guess these are 90s blouses, and I do see them coming back with this like kind of lapel opening. I'm on the fence between making this version, which has a tiny bit of a puff sleeve, and this version, which is just a straight sleeve. I do like how this looks on this model, but like obviously this is a line drawing. But if I were to make that, I would make the button, the stripes on the button, the stripes on the pocket go the opposite way just to make it a little bit more noticeable. That's that plan. I don't know if this is an 80s pattern. We're patterned $6.75 in the 80s. This doesn't have a year on it, and the thing up here is gone. I've shown this pattern a few times as well, and I still have not made it. I call it the Gibson blouse, even though it's not the Gibson blouse. They are historically inspired blouses. This one has a ruffle down the front. This one has just a seam down the front, and they've played with the stripes there, making them go the opposite way, but it still has a regular collar. And then this one also has that seam going down the front, but it has a mandarin collar. I'm actually trying to decide between these two, and I don't have a specific fabric picked out anymore because that rayon that I was talking about making this with before, I've since decided I want to use to make pajamas, but that's like way down the line because I don't have the patience to deal with that rayon material right now. If I have any fabric left over from those other projects, then perhaps I will make one of these two blouses out of that. Next up, I have this a little bit stretchy jersey. I love striped t-shirts. They're my favorite kind of t-shirt to wear. I think that they just look so classic and it makes any outfit look elevated. This is kind of a thick stripe for me. I prefer thinner stripes like pinstripes. When I saw this fabric at the thrift store, I could not resist, so I got it. I have a pattern by French Navy Patterns. I forget what it's called, but I'll link it below. I made this t-shirt already before when I made my underwear video, and I want to make it again with this material. I probably have enough here to make quite a few t-shirts, and because it isn't like a fitted pattern, I feel like this material would work pretty well for that because it isn't stretchy really. This would make a very lightweight t-shirt with a boxy shape, but it won't work for underwear or something like that because it's not stretchy enough. So that's my plan with that. That's the end of my top sewing plans. I have two fabrics here, this dark blue and this light blue. I have about the same amount of each of these, and I just got a pattern called the Garden Dress by Frex Studio. I got this online on Etsy. She was having a sale, $8 off, and her price is kind of high at $36 Canadian, so $8 off made it more affordable for me. It was still, I think, expensive for a pattern at $28 Canadian, but I really like how it looks. There's a video that she has where she's standing on a rock in Lake Ontario and the dress is blowing around her magically. The vibe, the feeling that that video evokes is what I want my life to be. Whimsical and magical and mysterious. It just was a really good vibe. I was thinking I could make this dress out of one of these two fabrics, whichever one I feel is softer so that it will blow in the wind when I wear it camping, which is how I'm gonna wear it. And then the other one I want to use to make a blouse version of the dress because there's also options for that in the pattern. There's an option for a V-neck and then a crew neck, and then you can choose the skirt or the blouse, and then long sleeve or no sleeve. I don't like the way that the V-neck looks because there's so many pin tucks along the front of the blouse. The folds are visible and I think it just looks messy. So I really like the crew neck version. So I'm probably going to do the crew neck with long sleeves for the dress, and then I'm going to do the crew neck with long sleeves for the blouse. And that's the extent of my blouse/dress ideas. And now on to pants. I want to make the Pinion pants by So Liberated. And there's also the Kosaka pants that I want to make too, but I'm only letting myself make one pattern of pants per season so that I don't go absolutely bonkers from sewing all these pants because they do tend to stress me out. The Pinion pants are going to be a bit more difficult to get to fit me compared to the chanterelle pants because the chanterelle pants have an elasticated waist in the back and a flat front, which means that any size discrepancy is like fixed by the elastic, whereas the Pinion pants are fitted from the hips to the waist. So it's very smooth there and there's not a lot of extra fabric. I think there's even darts on the back and then it's just smooth on the front. I really like these pants because they're obviously fashion pants, but they also have a construction appeal to them because they have a hammer loop included, which I think is a very interesting clash of fashions. I'm making this to be business casual, but it's a blue collar thing. I think it has a lot of it tells an interesting story similar to Marie Antoinette wearing her shepherdessing dress when she is a queen and she's just cosplaying as a peasant. But I don't think I'm cosplaying as a peasant because I'm lower middle class, so I'm just cosplaying as a carpenter, I guess, but with a high fashion twist. Does that even make sense? Anyway, I've shown this butter yellow corduroy quite a few times on this channel and I've still never actually used it. I think that this would make a beautiful pair of Pinion pants with the hammer loop because more pockets is better. Always. I don't think there's ever a time when you don't want pockets. That's the plan with that. I feel like I talked more about these trousers than I talked about any of the blouses. We're gonna move on now. The last thing that I want to make is if I have a lot of scraps left over from making all of these blouses, I want to make something from this book that I showed in my recent thrift haul, which is a patchwork book, and it has all these beautiful patchwork designs. I'll show you the ones I'm considering. This is called Weekend Break. And it's a pouch with a quilted exterior fabric, which I think is very pretty. I thought that this was a pouch, but it turns out it's a tea cozy, and I love that idea. Oh my gosh. These are called Window Whispers. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, and they're sheer curtains made with your scrap. I still have to make a curtain for that window, and I want it to be sheer so that the cats can still see through it. And because there's a tree there that gets a lot of, I think it's called a rowan, mountain ash, and the birds eat the berries and get drunk. And so the cats love sitting in this window and watching the birds. And I can make a beautiful sheer curtain out of my ethereal, whimsical fabric scraps that they can still see through. This is a little pouch made out of scraps they say it's meant for jewelry, but obviously you could use it for anything. This would be nice to sew some sewing supplies or knitting supplies on the go. Oh, cute. These 3D balls that you make, there's a picture of the process, and then fill with lovely smelling herbs so that your house smells good. I could totally make a teddy bear for my nephew. There's a magic carpet bag made out of fabric scraps. That is the extent of my sewing plans for summer. I definitely will not be able to do all of these. Hopefully I'll be able to do some. I mentioned in a post recently that there's been a bunch of life changes that make it so that I may not be able to post as much. I'm going to try to continue to post every other week. I just won't have as many process videos because I don't have time to make process videos. They take a really long time. Whereas videos like this, where I'm just talking, really easy. It still takes me probably over 20 hours to like edit and upload and everything, even though it only takes me like 45 minutes to film. They still take quite a long time to make, but it's still more attainable to me than making process videos. So things that have changed in my life, I don't want to get too personal in here, so I'm not going to talk about the personal aspects. I do want to say that I am probably going to be going to nursing school next year, and so I have to do a bunch of upgrading before March. I am halfway through upgrading my biology, but I still need to upgrade. This is upgrading high school courses. I still need to upgrade math, and I still need to upgrade English. It's a competitive program, high 80s to get in, and that's not the grades that I got when I was in high school, but I can achieve it as an adult. I'm going to be having a lot more of my attention focused on studying more than crafting, which is a little disappointing. Crafting is my favorite thing to do, but if I make more money, then I don't need to work as much, and then I'll have more time to craft. So it'll suck for a couple years, but my life will be better at the end of it. So that's my mini life update. That's everything that I want to make in the coming month. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you subscribe and you can keep coming back for more. Love to have you here, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.